You're born in Panama in a private clinic. Your father reserves the entire floor. Armed men guard every entrance. The doctor who delivers you will never speak about this day to anyone, not because he's asked not to, but because he understands without being asked. Your first cry lands in a room where nobody breathes until your father does. He looks at you once and says, "She looks like a queen." You are 4 hours old and already the most protected person in Colombia. Outside those walls, your father's organization smuggles more into the United States than any structure in human history. Inside, there is only you, small and with no idea what your last name already means. You didn't choose any of this, but this already chose you. Before your lungs took their first breath of air that belonged to a world your father largely controlled. Your name is Manuela. He calls you La Monita, the little blonde. It's the softest thing about him, and it belongs entirely to you. Your first years unfold inside properties that don't resemble houses so much as sovereign territories. Your house has its own airport, its own zoo, and even a water park. There's a replica of the plane he used for his first shipment mounted above the entrance gate. Displayed like a trophy of a war the rest of the world hadn't understood was already over. You don't know what it means. You think it's simply part of the landscape of being alive? You have everything, all of it arriving before you can ask, in quantities that leave no space for the word enough. At 3 years old, you ask your father for a unicorn. Not metaphorically, you watch a program, you see the white horse with the horn, you want one. Most fathers would sit down and explain the basic mechanics of mythology. Your father is not most fathers. Within days, his employees present you with a white horse that has a horn attached to its forehead and wings fastened to its back. The animal suffers a severe infection from the modifications. It dies within the week. Your father watches you cry over it and feels something most of his enemies would not believe him capable of feeling. The unicorn is for you to enjoy. The infection is for you to understand. This is your first lesson about the nature of his love. It is absolute, unconditional, and completely indifferent to the laws of reality. In 1988, you are 3 years old and asleep in your family's apartment. You don't wake up before the explosion. You wake up inside it. A car bomb detonated below your window shakes the building to its foundation. The blast damages your hearing permanently. For weeks, you can barely hear anything. Your father, who has faced assassins and governments and entire armies without visible fear, sits beside your bed holding your hand with a stillness that his commanders have never seen in him. You recover most of your hearing, not all of it. The gap is small enough that most people don't notice. You notice. It's the first thing the world takes from you. And you're not yet 4. You don't go to school? Ever. Teachers come to you. You don't play with neighborhood children. The children who you see have been selected by your father. The men are always there. Men with radios, men whose jackets hang wrong because of what's underneath them. You learn that doors exist to be guarded. You learn that windows exist to be watched. You learn that the word outside is not a place, but a permission nobody grants you. At 6, you ask your mother why you can't go to a regular school like the children you see on television. She explains that your family is special, that special families have special arrangements. You accept this the way children accept everything adults say, entirely for now, while something underneath quietly files the question away for later. You live between properties, haciendas and safe houses that change frequently. Your father's presence is intermittent and total. When he's there, the world contracts to the radius of his attention, and that radius is entirely warm. When he's absent, which is often, the warmth doesn't disappear. It just becomes theoretical. You learn to hold his presence like something you carry, rather than something that surrounds you. By 1991, things change in ways you sense before you can articulate. The properties change more frequently. Adults speak in lower registers. Your father surrenders himself to a prison called La Catedral, that he essentially designed himself, a deal with the Colombian government, his terms, his architecture, his staff. You visit him there. It doesn't look like a prison from the inside. From the inside, it looks like another property, another arrangement of men around a central authority. You're 7 years old and you sit across from your father playing cards and eating food the kitchen prepares for him. And it seems for those hours, almost completely normal. In 1992, he escapes. The government attempts to transfer him to a real facility. He walks out. The visits become operations. You and your mother and your brother are blindfolded and driven to locations you never see clearly. You sit in rooms that smell of unfamiliar soap and wait for him to arrive. When he does, he still reads to you, still calls you La Monita, still fills the available space with a warmth that exists nowhere else in your life. But the rooms keep changing and the blindfolds keep happening. And you are 8 years old and you understand, finally, in the way children understand the things adults tried to protect them from, that this is not normal, that it has never been normal. The last time you see your father, clearly, is sometime in the autumn of 1993. December 2nd, 1993. You're 9 years old. You're in a hotel in Bogota with your mother and your brother because your family has lost the properties, lost the protection, lost the scaffolding of everything that had structured your existence. No country will take you. Germany says no. Ecuador says no. Peru says no. Mozambique says no. The Vatican, which speaks regularly of mercy as a structural principle, also says no. Every door closes in the specific polite language that powerful institutions use when they're refusing something they find contaminating. You're in this hotel when the news arrives. Your father has been found on a rooftop in Medellin, and he's been killed in a confrontation with the search block. A special unit assembled for the specific purpose of finding him. He survived exactly 1 day past his 44th birthday. You are 9 years old. Your world, which was already reduced to a hotel room in Bogota, reduces further, to something without edges or floor. That night, you sleep with the shirt he wore the last time he visited. You keep a small piece of his beard under your pillow. Nobody takes these things from you. A shirt, a few hairs. The specific way he said, La Monita. This is the last inheritance, and it fits in your hands. Your mother, with extraordinary composure for a woman whose husband has just been killed, and whose name is now a target in multiple directions simultaneously, negotiates your survival. The Cali cartel demands reparations for everything your father cost them. She pays. She personally guarantees your brother will not seek revenge and will disappear into anonymity. Your father built an empire. Your mother dismantles it quietly in a hotel room to keep you alive. You don't fully understand the economics of this yet. What you understand is that your mother keeps you alive through sheer diplomatic precision, while managing grief she cannot afford to display. On December 24th, 1994, you arrive in Buenos Aires on tourist visas. Christmas Eve. You're 10 years old and you land in a country that doesn't know who you are. At least not yet. And for the first time in longer than you can clearly remember, the air has a different quality. You receive new names. Your mother becomes Maria Isabel Santos Caballero. Your brother becomes Juan Sebastián Marroquín Santos. You become Juana Manuela Marroquín Santos. The name is close enough to your own that it doesn't feel entirely like a fiction. You practice signing it. You practice being someone who has always been this person and has no other history. For a few years, it works. You attend school in Buenos Aires for the first time in your life. Regular school with other children, with a name that means nothing to anyone in the room. This anonymity, which would feel suffocating to most people your age, feels to you like oxygen. You become exceptionally careful about what you say and to whom, because you understand in the cellular way that children who have survived things understand that one wrong detail collapses the entire construction. Your mother builds a small real estate business from almost nothing, because almost nothing is precisely what remained after Colombia and the Cali cartel consumed everything else. The billions are gone. The haciendas are gone. The zoo is gone. The hippos are still there. Technically, they became the Colombian government's problem. You sometimes think about the hippos. You live modestly in a city that doesn't know your name. And this modest anonymity is the most valuable thing you've ever had. In 1999, it ends. One of your mother's business associates discovers the truth. The associate reports it. Your mother and your brother are arrested. Money laundering, false documents. They're held for months while their finances are investigated. You're spared. You're 15 and legally a minor, and there's nothing in your name to investigate because you've never done anything at all. You've been trying for 6 years to simply exist without consequence in a city that finally felt possible. Your real names surface in Argentine media, the name that you've spent 5 years carefully erasing, reappears in print and television, and on the faces of people who now look at you with the expression you remember from Colombia. The expression that calculates who you are before it decides how to feel about you. You stop going to school. Permanently. You go back to tutors at home, to the interior of a controlled space, to the architecture of invisibility that characterized the first 9 years of your life. Except this time, you're not a princess in a hacienda. You're a teenager in an apartment in Buenos Aires, with a dead father, a jailed mother, and a name you can't say out loud. Your mother is released. The investigation finds no provable connection between her assets and criminal activity. She and your brother find language for what happened to them. Like they find ways to be in the world, with the history attached. You don't. You're 40 years old. You've never given an interview. You've never published a memoir. You've never appeared in a documentary. Your brother has spoken to the sons of men your father had killed. Your mother has written. The world has made series, films, podcasts, with your father as the central gravity around which everything orbits. There are actors who've made careers from his face, tourists who visit the sites of his crimes, children who wear his name on t-shirts, without knowing what it cost the children who actually carried it. You are not at a comfortable distance. You live with your brother in Palermo, Buenos Aires, under a name that isn't your name, in a city that is as close to home as anything will ever be, which is not very close. Silence is the only inheritance nobody can take from you, so you keep it.